My name is Elizabeth Henneke. I am the CEO and founder of the Lone Star Justice Alliance. Sorry, doctor, I ended up getting benefits of slides. And before I even get started, I just want to have you close your eyes and I want you to imagine something, okay? Many of you here are investors, right? And you invest in your communities, you invest in businesses, you invest in our country. Now, I want you to think about investing $5 billion in a company that fails 75% of the time. And I'd like you, keep your eyes closed so you don't rat out your friends. How many of you would take that investment? Okay, you can open your eyes. Not a single one of you raised your hand, right? Because you wouldn't invest $5 billion in a company that failed 75% of the time. Yet you all do. Because in Texas every year, we invest $5 billion in a justice system that punishes instead of heals. It doesn't address the Aspire 2030 goals. And instead, it takes us further from the goalpost that all of us are here to achieve. But what if we could do something different? What if, driven by data, we actually started to address the root causes of justice involvement? What if we made our communities safer, our children could thrive, and all of us could move forward into 2030 with a new perspective on what public safety means? LSJA, the Lone Star Justice Alliance, seeks to do just that. They're an interconnected theory of change. We launch pilot community-based programs, started in partnership with United Way. So thanks to them, we were able to launch one of our first pilot programs that actually reimagine the way that we address justice. It does so by addressing the root causes of crime. The other thing that we do is we engage in advocacy at the Capitol. I have to tell you, we're thrilled. We launched with 6 goals, because we like data too. 6 goals. One of them was to see children move out of the adult criminal justice system and down into the youth system. I'm happy to report that this year we're declaring our first win. We've seen a 40% reduction in the state of Texas of children going into the adult courts since we launched. Win number 1. We're also announcing our second win in partnership with wonderful people like Bianca. We set out to have survivors of crime, especially children sex trafficked, not be convicted of the crimes of their abusers. The legislature has just passed unanimously, and we're quietly waiting for the governor to sustain a bill that creates the first affirmative defense for people who have been victims to not be charged with the crimes of their abusers. It is the first in the country to have no exclusions because crime is complex. We're thrilled about that. And not to be outdone, we went ahead and made sure that the courts recognized it. And we just won a case in court that makes sure that it's ineffective assistance of counsel not to advise, especially children, of their rights to claim that defense. So with that, we're going to close that out too. So we've completed 2 of our 6 goals, and we do so by being data informed. So let me really talk about what's next, okay? First thing is that we are 2 years into a pilot for the HYPE Center. The HYPE Center is a wrap-around services entry point for justice-involved youth on steroids. It's like what my partner Ulysses Reeves-Waters likes to say, because it addresses the actual root causes of crime in order to redirect people into economic growth. We've been using the CVC, which is, y'all know I'm a total nerd, so I love this thing. We've been using it to actually target our permanent location because we want to make sure that we can hit the communities most vulnerable. We've also used it to really increase our targeted recruitment because we get out into the streets to recruit. And I'm so excited to tell you some of the results of that. Next. We've also used it for fundraising. Y'all, we're a tiny organization. We are 8 years old. I launched this after leaving academia because I was frustrated by how long it took to create actionable change in my community. My husband almost died when I gave up tenure to move to Texas and launch this program. But as you know, we are so excited about this because it's allowing us to tell our story. that justice involvement is a social determinant of health. And I can't tell you how thrilled we are. PCCI has been a good partner of ours from the beginning about making that argument. So for those of you who think you don't do justice-involved work, you do, because we're all doing health and income-based work. And finally, it's given us some really incredible data points because we're tracking our impact. We're able to say a 40% reduction in youth. We're able to say we're increasing social determinants of health, and we're able to make those stories. We really want to continue to make these baseline stories. One thing, I was just at the Capitol. I apologize, my slides are not beautiful. We really needed more of yours. Because I've been at the Capitol so much, but one of the things that I just want to say how excited I was is I used CVC to actually drill into district level data to make arguments that were specialized to some of the legislators in the Capitol to say what's going on in their community, how we were seeing it show up, what the social determinants of health that were causing justice involvement, and why that was really the root, not the quote unquote bad kids. So this has huge potential for policy and systemic impact, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. And lastly, I want to talk to you about one of our just incredible co-collaborators and participants, Jaquan. So we met him through these expanded recruiting efforts. So he would not have been in our program but for the CVC. We knew to go to a disconnected area to begin recruiting. Our incredible engagement specialist, Troy, who is, I say, our hype man. He then completed our baseline assessments and intake the next day. I love being able to compare our SDOH intake assessments to the vulnerability compass and assess how, in a comparison, my client is doing versus those of his peers in similar situations. Gives us a lot of insight to their resilience and their thriving strengths and capacities. We then identified the additional needs that he had, and we were able to locate and identify partners for it. This was my favorite thing, and the one that I want to just really encourage you to think about, the power of systemic change. We then took the community vulnerability compass information with him to court. And we were able to show his probation officer that his failure to be able to get to work on time was due to the lack of transportation in his area and not because our client had some sort of deficit. And through conversations like that, we're changing the way people think about Jaquan and others, right? And so our Jaquan was able to continue to succeed and thrive because we were able to say, this isn't Jaquan's problem, right? It's an underlying community connection problem that we all have the responsibility to address. We worked with him to get his driver's license, job readiness, and we are thrilled that he has now completed his occupational training as an electrician, and he is now placed in a $22 an hour apprenticeship position. And I just want to close out by saying how grateful we are to all of you. It is incredibly important to have nuanced, multi-functional data so that we're not siloed in the stories and the telling that we have about how our money is invested and how budgets are moral documents. And we need to have less emphasis on investments in what doesn't work 75% of the time, and more investments in the type of work my cohorts and I are doing to lift up our communities to thrive, so that by 2013, we really have not only aspired, but we have achieved. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this tool. I absolutely adore it, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. Thank you.